I'm Jack Kennedy, and we're here to bring you the latest in MMA.
Hey everybody, my name's Hunter Boss, and what the boss says goes.
What is up everyone, my name is Keelan McNamara, and you already know what time it is.
What's up guys, how's it going? Hunter Boss here, and to tell you guys right now, my picks for the fantasy UFC draft that we just did. It was a fantastic draft, wish you guys could have saw it, but besides the point, my first pick was Zhang Wei Li, next was Aaron Blanchfield, third was Amanda Nunes, fourth was Davison Figueiredo, fifth was Sean O'Malley, sixth was Max Holloway, seventh was Rafael Fiziev, 8th is Colby Covington, 9th is Sean Strickland, 10th is Anthony Smith, and last but not least is Francis Ngannou. There, you see it, is the best team out of the entire draft. What the boss says goes, and what I say is that I'm going to win the draft this year. So watch out, Keelan, and watch out, Jack.
Hey guys, welcome to the MMA Island podcast. I am Jack Kennedy. We just had our draft episode, so we're going to break it down for you real quick, and I'm going to start you with my team, Kennedy. What we did was we did a snake draft. So Hunter started first because he was, he finished last in the first one. I went second because I finished second, and Keelan went last, and then in reverse order. So then Keelan, me, Hunter, then back and forth, and back and forth. So let me read off to you my team. At women's strawweight, I picked Marina Rodriguez. I think she is a phenomenal fighter who's really came up in 2021. She's had 3 fights it was 3 fights in 2021. She's going to have a lot of fights in 2022, and she's towards the top. So that's why I picked her. The last fantasy draft, we all we all moved towards not quite the most active fighters, but the best fighters we saw available. Well, we learned that was not the best way to go. And the best way to go, honestly, is just to pick the guys or girls who fight the most and who win the most. So that's where my mindset went. So Marina Rodriguez, women's flyweight, I went Casey O'Neill, undefeated, fought 2 or 3 times in 2021. Same sort of deal. She's such a fiery prospect in that flyweight division. And anyone that's close to the top is going to lose to Valentina Shevchenko. So I did not pick her, and she's got plenty of room to grow in that division and fight the best. So yeah, I think 3 fights for Casey O'Neill, and that's my prediction. Women's bantamweight, Juliana Pena. Look, Hunter picked Amanda Nunes, so I went with who I thought was second best would be in that division, Juliana Pena. That's my biggest pick. I'm banking on Pena beating Nunes. We'll see what happens, but those are all my women's divisions. Now for flyweight, I got the champ, Brandon Moreno. He wasn't my first pick, which is crazy, right? He's the champ. I'm nervous, not necessarily about Figueiredo, but about Askar Askarov, Kai Kara France, and the guy he lost to twice before. So Alejandro Pantoja. So I am very curious to see how Brandon Moreno is going to deal with all of these guys that he's fought before as the champion. How many times will he fight? Look, you have to pick him, though. He's Brandon Moreno, the champion at 125. That's who I got on my fantasy team. 135, another one that I am so hyped to get. This is my second pick overall. Petr Yan. I say it, he's my guy. I picked him on the team last year. He's going to fight for a title again. He is the interim champion, just title fights. He looks unbeatable. Petr Yan, I think that's a very solid pick for me, and it's going to be title fights as well. So that would be 2 points. I'm very excited for that. Up next, 145, Giga Chikadze. So Hunter picked Max Holloway, which is the obvious go-to pick here. But Giga Chikadze right after that. So many fights in 21. So many fights I'm predicting in 2022, starting with the main event against Calvin Kattar. He wins that. We're in business. Giga Chikadze climbing the ranks at 145. 155. Guys, I'm going through my team, and I just love it. Islam Makhachev. Oh, my goodness. It's so good. Islam Makhachev is one of the guys that I really think is going to be world champion. He's going to fight Beneil Dariush. I favor him heavily in that match. He's Habib 2.0. I think he will climb the ranks and fight for a title and potentially win that title. That's probably 2 or 3 fights. One of those could be a championship fight. That's 3 points potentially for Islam Makhachev. I'm very excited about that. 170, I got Sean Brady. 170 was one of those divisions where I picked the last, and Keelan picked Khamzat Chimaev, which was my pick. I forget who Hunter picked, but look, Sean Brady is one of those guys that's probably, other than Khamzat Chimaev, the hottest prospect in that division. Outstanding wrestling. And that's what I'm going with, Sean Brady. 185, blonde, Derek Brunson. Let's go. He's fighting Jared Cannonier. I think he beats Jared Cannonier. That's at least one win. And then if he beats Jared Cannonier, you have to give Derek Brunson the title shot. So we're looking at a win and potentially a title shot for Derek Brunson. I love the pick. That's my 185 pick. 205, I got Magomed Ankalaev. Look, he fought a bunch in 21. Look, whenever you get up to 205 and 265, the light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions, the activity, it's so hard to find active fighters and active fighters that win a bunch too. So Ankalaev, I think, will continue to win, continue to rack up wins, and he fights a lot too. Climb the ranks at 205. Look, he's already ranked, 7? He's going to have some big fights coming up. Not easy, but I love Magomed Ankalaev. And for my last division heavyweight, Tom Aspinall is my pick. A bit out there, right? Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou went right off back to back with Keelan and Hunter, but Tom Aspinall is sneaky. He fights so much and he's winning, and he's so smart because he takes it one level at a time. Well, guys, we are going to be doing fantasy this entire year. Thank you so much for listening to my pick. I'm going to turn it over to whoever's next, and cannot wait. This is going to be so fun. Thank you guys for listening.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to one of our favorite videos to do here on the MMA Island podcast. Now, as Jack has probably already mentioned somewhere in the intro to this video, unfortunately, we had some network and technical issues that were completely unforeseen, and they kind of ruined the processing of the video that we recorded last night for the draft. That being said, we have our picks here, and we're going to unveil each of our teams for you now. So you may have already seen, depending on what order these are uploaded in, you may have seen Team Kennedy and Team Boss already. And I can't lie, they've picked very, very well. They are strong in all areas, but I'm very confident in Team McNamara this year. You know, I am the reigning champion of the draft, technically. So I'm looking forward to defending that title, and I certainly hope I'll be able to retain it this year. And I hope that my squad will be the squad to win out of everybody. So, as you may have seen already, activity is as important as quality in this draft. And these are why we love doing them, because sometimes you can pretty much not lose. Sometimes you can be screwed if you don't get one fighter. So it really is a mix of everything. And that is why we love doing these so much. But that being said, let's get straight into the picks. We're going to work from women's strawweight all the way up to heavyweight, and you'll see why I'm so happy with my team. So at women's strawweight, we have got Mackenzie Dern. Now, I will admit Mackenzie Dern was perhaps not my first pick, but she was a very strong second pick, and I'm very happy to have her on my team. She's 11-2. She's generally very active, and she's generally an absolute lethal weapon on the ground as well. I'm a big Mackenzie Dern fan, and I think she will continue to be really, really good in 2022. So, women's flyweight, and I have gone for Jessica Andrade. Now, Andrade, I'm really, really happy with this pick because women's flyweight is Valentina Shevchenko's division to lose. I think all of us were in agreement on that. But in Jessica Andrade, I really think I have got the best of the rest with this pick. I think Jessica Andrade could pretty much be the gatekeeper of women's flyweight. I think she's the best knockout power out of any lady in that division. And I think she will be that gatekeeper for pretty much any of the top 5 in that division at the moment. So Jessica Andrade, I am very happy with. Now, on to women's bantamweight, and I really wanted to go down the route that Jack went with one of his picks. I won't spoil it in case you haven't seen it, but as soon as you see it, you'll know exactly who I mean. And I've gone with Ketlin Vieira. Now, Vieira's coming off a very impressive win against Miesha Tate not that long ago. And that's one factor as to why I pick Ketlin Vieira. But the other factor is activity. Ketlin Vieira loves to fight, and she fights a lot. And activity is going to be more important than ever this year, perhaps even more so than last year. And Ketlin is always very, very active, and she's always a threat in every facet of her game. So my women's bantamweight representative will be Ketlin Vieira, and I think she could be one to watch for 2022. I think she's a real star in that division, and I think she could climb those rankings quite rapidly this year. Now, we move on to the men's rankings, and we move on to men's flyweight. Now, this is a pretty, the top five in this division is pretty stacked, so it's kind of hard to go wrong. But for me, my one pick that I really, really wanted was Mr. Kai Kara-France. And, you know, not even talking about the Cody Garbrandt fight, Kai Kara-France is such an impressive flyweight. He is rapid. He's got legitimate knockout power. He can wrestle with pretty much any fighter in that division. And I think Kai Kara-France could even be next in line for a title shot at flyweight. I think he's going to be really, really good this year. He's always generally active. And I think he could even be a title holder in flyweight by the end of 2022. I'm very confident in what he can do. Now, on to men's bantamweight. And if you watch the podcast and if you watch anything we do, this won't surprise you at all. But I'm rocking with my boy Corey Sandhagen again for 2022. Now, Corey Sandhagen actually lost me more points technically than he won me last year, but he had the knockout of the year, which I think most of us agreed with, against Frankie Edgar, and he lost a razor thin, statistically speaking, the closest fight of all time, according to Verdict MMA, which we're all big fans of. I still think he won that fight, but that's not the point. You know, he put up the toughest test that Petr Yan has had to date. He arguably beat TJ Dillashaw, and he had the knockout of the year against Frankie Edgar. And I think he beats any other top contender at bantamweight at the moment. I really, really do. So for me, Corey Sandhagen was a very easy decision to retain his services for 2022. Now, on to men's featherweight, and this is a loaded division. My pick for here is Brian T. City Ortega. I'm not going to lie, he was probably my second choice behind Jack's choice. Again, I'm not going to spoil that in case you haven't seen his yet. But I am overall very happy with Brian Ortega. He lost one of the best fights we've ever seen against Alex Volkanovski. But Ortega's still up there. He is, you know, he's only lost two champions, and that bodes very well for him in terms of activity, because I think at the moment he could dispatch of the rest of the top five. I think he had a very close fight with Volkanovski. Holloway, you know, that remains to be seen entirely. But I'm very happy with Brian Ortega, and I think he can continue to improve and thrive, and he can continue to just get better and better and better as 2022 goes on. Now, lightweight, and I am very excited for this division next year, or I should say this year, because my pick is Justin the Highlight Gaethje. Now, lightweight is just huge going into 2022. We have an amazing champion in Charles Oliveira. We've got a dominant, it would appear, contender in Islam Makhachev meeting a beast in Beneil Dariush. And we have the most violent man in the UFC in Justin Gaethje, who put on the fight of the year against Michael Chandler for 2021. Now, I don't even need to tell you why I love that pick. I just think Justin Gaethje goes in and he throws everything, including the kitchen sink, at his opponents. And that's what I love about him. He leaves nothing to spare. He leaves everything in the octagon, and he is just one of the top three lightweights on planet Earth right now. A lot of people think he will fight Charles Oliveira for the belt next, which will be a fight of the year contender in itself. And overall, I'm very confident in what he's going to do. So delighted to have Justin Gaethje for Team McNamara this year. And yes, let's keep going. On to welterweight, and this pick I really like, because I liken this pick to Hunter's pick for bantamweight. Again, I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't seen it, but I'm going for the Wolf, Khamzat Chimaev. Now, Khamzat has probably got the most hype out of any fighter in the UFC right now, besides arguably Sugar Sean O'Malley. But I think Chimaev is going to make a tear of a run up the top 15 and the top 10 of welterweight this year. He said that he wants to be as active as possible and he wants to fight pretty much anybody he can get his hands on. And truthfully, that bodes really well for me because no one really at the moment looks like they're going to be competitive against Khamzat. Combine that with a lot of activity and we're on to a winner. So I'm really, really happy with that pick. I think that was one of my top picks that I really, really wanted and needed. So I was so happy with it. Now we go on to 185 middleweight. And this is a bit of a tough division to call because with the exception of someone like Sean Strickland at the moment, it's sort of muddy waters in the top 5 at the moment. You know, every guy seems to be beating each other and there's no real major clear contender to Israel Adesanya coming out at the moment. That being said, I have gone for who I believe is the solidified second best middleweight on planet Earth right now, and that is Robert the Reaper Whittaker. This was a very clear pick for me. I don't even have to explain it that much if we're honest. Just all-around unbelievable fighter, one of the best fight IQs in the game right now, and he always applies that perfectly in every fight that he is in. Now, the Israel Adesanya fight, he did not fight his best fight the first time, but you can be damn sure that he is going to readjust and he's going to bring a better game plan in than he did the first time. At least I'm banking on that because I've literally just picked him. So I really hope that he does do that. And yeah, he was a very good pick, one that I had very little doubt about. I have a couple of concerns about his activity, but activity aside, his quality was too good to pass up. So yeah, Robert Whittaker will be repping Team McNamara this year. On to light heavyweight. And the last 2 divisions, I think I've really gotten the best fighter in each division. And I am really, really confident about my chances in both of these. Because at light heavyweight, we've got the boy Yuri Prochazka himself. Many people's pick for knockout of the year last year against Dominic Reyes, which I certainly didn't argue with, but I can see why so many people did. Yuri Prochazka is just a one-man wrecking machine, and I expect him to do the same thing in 2022. In fact, I picked Yuri Prochazka because I think he will be the light heavyweight champion by the end of this year. If he fights Glover Teixeira and if he can get past Glover Teixeira, there's very few light heavyweights I can see even getting close to Yuri Prochazka. So for me, this was an absolute no-brainer. I actually think he was my number 1 pick. I think he was actually. And I picked him for number 1 for very good reason. I think he's going to take it straight to the top. No one fights like him. No one can prepare for him. And I don't think anyone will be ready for him. So for me, Yuri Prochazka, easy pick, personally speaking. And that leaves us with the big boys, the baddest men on the planet. We're going into the heavyweight division, and we're going with a guy from me who I think will be holding that title by the end of next year or by the end of this year. Ciryl Gane. I think this guy is arguably the best technical heavyweight since Cain Velasquez. I really believe that. And I think he is going to beat Francis Ngannou for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. You know, not even withstanding Ngannou's issues at the moment, if you're watching this, you know, Ngannou's got a lot of negotiation issues with Dana White in the UFC. One way or the other, Ciryl Gane's going to hold that belt, the full undisputed belt, by the end of 2022. I think stylistically, he is the toughest matchup by far out of any heavyweight in the world right now for Francis Ngannou. You know, his kickboxing, the Savate kickboxing is on a different level. He can wrestle, he can clinch, he can do everything, in my opinion, that Francis Ngannou does, and he is a better striker. So for me, I could not be happier with drafting Ciryl Gane because I think he will hold that belt by the end of this year. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is Team McNamara for the MMA Island Draft for 2022. Please do feel free to let us know in the comments what you think, what you would change. Who do you think has the best team? Are there any glaring picks that you would have made instead of what we chose? I'm really, really curious to hear because, I mean, this probably isn't much breaking news anyway, but me, Jack, and Hunter are pretty fiercely debating on who we think had the best team. I think in some areas they drafted better. I think in some areas I glaringly drafted better personally, but I really want to hear what you think. And I'm going to hand it over to the boys now, if they haven't been shown already. I want to see what they're saying, and I want to hear what you have to say. So thank you very much for watching this. I'm really glad that you tuned in. And yeah, let me know what you think. Until the next episode, guys, thank you very much. And let's go for 2022.